Hey there, I'm Alex Kidman, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Ring. Let's get into the review. So the Samsung Galaxy Ring is, wait for it, a ring, a smart ring. And yeah, I know, you're shocked, but the point here is that this is a smart tracking device that doesn't look techy, that doesn't look like you've got a smartwatch on your wrist, and some people absolutely will appreciate that in pure design terms. The idea of, no, I don't want to wear a thing that looks like a tech gadget on me, but I can get away with wearing some jewelry. That, I think, has some merit. The design is very plain, available in titanium black, titanium gold, or, as I have here, titanium silver. And really, the only design note on the exterior is a single thin line at the base, and you know it's at the base because that's the way you're meant to wear it. It's basically to ensure that the optical sensors within it are best positioned to do the best possible tracking. Otherwise, because it's a ring, because it's round, or basically round, you wouldn't know which way up it was meant to go. Now, I say it's plain in design terms. I haven't actually, for example, held it over a fire to discover if it is in fact the one true ring, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Also, that'd be a really, really bad idea because while it is IP68 rated for water resistance, so the idea is your hand can get wet and it can get wet, it's not rated for fire resistance in any real way. In any case, it's not really a swimming or diving ring. I'll get into the exercise a bit later. It's more to do with your hand being able to get wet. I've got to say, over the couple of weeks I've been testing it, I've never been super comfortable to, for example, wear it in the shower, but people theoretically could, although I will point out that IP68 is just fresh water, not soapy water, tap water, or pool water. Again, you pay your money, you take your chances. Now, while the plain design is meant to hide the fact that it is a smart ring, there is one circumstance I've hit, and it's kind of hard to demonstrate, where it does rather show off the fact that it is, because it has these little optical sensors inside the body of the ring, and if my finger is not particularly swollen, and I think any ring owner will know, your hands swell and contract over the course of a day as you drink, as you get hot or cold for a variety of other blood pressure factors. But in those periods where the ring has been sitting a little bit more loosely on my finger, if I've been pointing towards someone from time to time, because the optical readers are, well, reading, that's what they do, they've flashed up green, and that's flashed up into the eyes of people who've been looking at my hand at the time. It does rather give away that this is more than just a piece of jewelry. It can be a little disconcerting for people who might have issues with flickering light patterns too, just something to keep in mind. Samsung sells the Galaxy Ring in 9 sizes, but they're not sizes that, as per Samsung, I'm not a jewelry expert, equate to standard ring sizes. They're Samsung's own sizes. So to ensure that you get the right size ring, they actually send you out a Galaxy Ring sizing kit. I've got a separate video on that, but if you were to order one, then they would send that to you first to ensure that you got the right size ring in essence. Now, once you've got the fit sorted, the question becomes, well, is it actually comfortable? Well, what about, because this is a fitness and wellness tracking ring, what about running? Well, let's go for a run and find out. Run done with the Galaxy Ring on, and surprise, it stayed on. It's a ring. It doesn't really do much. It doesn't vibrate. It's very unlikely to go missing. Thanks, me. Yeah, look, this is perfectly comfortable for running. In fact, probably a little bit more comfortable than most smartwatches because, again, you've just got a smaller thing and it's on your finger, and unless your finger's going to drop off, you don't really have a problem of losing it. And if your finger's going to drop off, I'm going to argue you've got bigger problems. Where it's particularly comfortable is for sleep tracking. Now, I find that with a lot of smartwatches, I don't use them for sleep tracking. Not that I don't want to know how badly I'm sleeping, but simply because they're not that comfortable to wear to bed. They'll just kind of catch on the bed sheets or similar. They'll wake me up somehow, and I don't like that. And that is not a problem with this ring. Basically, I can sleep with this ring on super comfortable. It's really quite good for that purpose, as long as the fit is right in the first place. Every good, or for that matter, cursed ring needs a ring box, and the Samsung Galaxy Ring is no exception. It comes with this really rather nice and stylish looking ring box, which is also its charger, similar to the way that lots of Bluetooth headphones work, if you're familiar with those. Although it does have one problem. Somebody, when I did my initial video on this, pointed out to me that when it's open, it slightly resembles a toilet seat, and now I can't unsee that, and, well, frankly, neither can you. Maybe this is an evil ring after all. In terms of installation, the Samsung Galaxy Ring requires two apps, Samsung Health and Galaxy Wear. And if you've got a Samsung phone, they're almost certainly pre-installed, and this should actually just pop up and recognize the Ring as soon as you open the box. Now, I was not installing on a Samsung phone. I don't have a current Samsung phone to hand to test it with. That has some implications which I'll get into later. I was instead installing it to the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, and that worked well enough with one little catch, although this is a super specific catch, probably just a tech reviewer problem, because it turns out that the Samsung Health app won't run for the first time on a phone that doesn't have a SIM in it. You can have internet access via Wi-Fi, it doesn't care. If there's no SIM, it ain't gonna run. Now, you don't need to keep the SIM in there, you can take the SIM out afterwards, but you need a SIM in that phone to get Samsung Health up and running with the Galaxy Ring. It's a weird limitation. Samsung couldn't really tell me why that was the case, but it is, and so I had to do a bit of SIM swapping, and then it got itself set up, and that's all fairly simple and straightforward. The interface in the UI is also fairly simple and straightforward. You really shouldn't have too many problems there outside the weird SIM one. That is presuming, of course, that you're on the Android platform. There's absolutely no iOS compatibility. And while I'm not really a fan of the kind of walled garden approach that's happening between Android and iOS wearables, both sides are just as guilty as each other. But the sad fact there is that it's the consumers who really miss out in the end. So how do you use a smart ring? Now, Samsung's not first to market here. The obvious brand here is Oura, although I will be honest and say here, I've never tested an Oura ring, but it's still a reasonable enough question, and the answer to the question is, you wear it. The whole idea here is simplicity. This is not a device with screens. This is not a device that has haptic feedback or other little motors that do things when things happen. No, you put it on your finger, you leave it there, and it does its measuring basically without you having to do anything at all. Now, the catch here is that the scope of what the Galaxy Ring measures is not particularly wide. Lots of smartwatches will measure all kinds of things, from ECGs to hundreds of exercise types. But the Galaxy Ring basically only wants to track walking and running in terms of steps. Now, you can set it to automatically track those, although there's a kind of weird UI thing going on here where you can tell it, oh, I want to automatically track workouts, but it's only got the two types. But you can disable both of those workouts, at which point I'm just wondering, what am I actually tracking here? It's very odd, but it will track walking, it will track running. You don't have to tell it you're starting a run, you just have to do one of a sufficient enough length, and it'll generally, I found, pick up on the fact that that is what you are doing. In terms of the accuracy of how well it picks up each and every step, look, this is always a contentious issue, and I think the reality here is that nothing gets 100%. Nothing. I've never hit anything where I've gone, yep, this is 100% getting everything that I'm doing all of the time. And I'm not sure that that's a huge problem as long as the device is consistent, because the value in this is not, I have done this many steps just on one day. The value is in having that pattern of what you are doing and adjusting your lifestyle and, exercising more or moderating your exercise if you're exercising too much. I speak from recent experience. And in that scope, yeah, the Galaxy Ring is fine. It will give you that data on a day-to-day basis, and the Samsung Health app has some relatively intelligent tips there on that side of things. It also does sleep tracking, and look, the same basic caveats apply. So there have been periods where I've been lying in bed, doom scrolling on my phone. Quick health tip, by the way, doom scrolling on your phone, not good for you. But I digress. The point is, the Ring has not picked up the fact that I'm not actually asleep at that particular point. But maybe that's just a sign that I should doom scroll a little less. It also does that thing that Samsung loves, where if you use it for long enough, you get a sleep animal to help you coach yourself to better sleep habits. For the record, I'm apparently a penguin. There's also a small range of features which are exclusive to Samsung Galaxy phones, so pinch gestures for, I believe, taking camera shots or stopping a stopwatch. Now, I didn't have a Galaxy phone to test these on, so I guess maybe they work. They don't feel super vital to me, but equally, I don't quite get why Samsung is keeping them exclusive to Samsung Galaxy phones. I mean, I get from their perspective, they want to sell more Samsung Galaxy phones, but it's not really a big consumer plus, and it doesn't feel like a feature that's explicitly only in Samsung's Android phones that other phones couldn't take advantage of. But, as I say, I've not been able to test it. Make of that what you will. On the battery front, The Galaxy Ring is a curious beast, and I say it's a curious beast because its battery capacity absolutely varies depending on the size it is. Now, that's not entirely unusual in wearables. Usually if there's one big and one small smartwatch, obviously the bigger one's going to have a bigger battery. But the differences here can be quite profound. So the smallest size 5 Galaxy Ring only has an 18 milliamp hour battery, while the largest model has a 23.5 milliamp hour battery. And that's quite the difference. Now, I suspect, being a bit cynical, that part of the reason that it's got bigger batteries is because it's actually cheaper to put more battery cells in there than it is to put more titanium in there in that free space. And I appreciate that they're using that more space, but what it does mean is that the battery life observations I've got are only relevant to this size 11 ring that I've got, because if you've got a size 6 ring, that's going to have a smaller battery than I've got here. What I've found is typically about 6 days of battery life before it absolutely needs to recharge. I have been doing it a little bit on and off. I have given it that full length to go flat, but I've also tested it more kind of ad hoc as you would if you owned it, dropping it on there, when I'm going through the shower, for example, to keep it topped up. And that actually works quite well. The case works well. It's kind of fun because it lights up when you put the ring into the case to charge. This is all quite reasonably handled. The case itself recharges via USB-C, but there's no charger in the box. Samsung assumes that you've got one. One slight catch here, though, is that the Galaxy Ring boxes are specific to their ring size as well. So if you were keen on getting multiple Galaxy Rings for whatever reason across different hand and finger sizes, you'd probably want to mark whose ring box was whose to avoid mixing them up and dropping them into the wrong size case. It must be a nightmare handling all that inventory at Samsung, but I guess that's their problem. So should you buy the Samsung Galaxy Ring? Well, look, it does a good enough job for the health tracking metrics it's meant to cover, and it does do so in a nicely surreptitious way. If you don't like the prospect of wearing an obvious smartwatch on your wrist, then for the most part you'd totally get away with the Galaxy Ring. However, at $699 in Australia, it's an expensive way to avoid looking like you're wearing a smart wearable. That's quite seriously smartwatch money. And those devices, including Samsung's own Galaxy Wear watches, do a whole lot more that the Galaxy Ring will never do. I can appreciate that Samsung hasn't gone down the subscription route that other smart rings do, but you're still paying a lot for a device with a limited function set relative to what you could get for around the same price. Now, I'm not going to dictate anyone's particular fashion choices, and I can totally see that this is something that might have immense appeal where a watch wouldn't, but otherwise I've got to say a smartwatch would be a better buy. So that's my take on the Samsung Galaxy Ring. I know this is not a new product, it's new here in Australia, so I'm interested in your feedback. Got any thoughts, got any comments? Hit me up below, and thanks for watching all the way through to the end, and as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
Thank you.